welcome to the Briefing Room. I'm Bill Froehlich from WTCM Radio News, and it's our weekly roundup of some of the stories making news in Northern Michigan with some of those people who are covering the news in Northern Michigan. And this week we're joined by Luke Haase from the Traverse City Business News and the Northern Express and the Traverse City Ticker. Luke, thanks for being on the program.
Glad to be here.
It's long overdue, but it's great to have you with us.
I know, I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Owner and publisher of the Business News and the Northern Express. Obviously, you're behind the distribution of the Traverse City Ticker as well.
Right.
So we wanted to, I guess, start with the introduction and the backstory to what led us up to this point. I mean, you've had a long history in Traverse City, and take us through the time at which you began with the Business News. I guess that was the first venture for you.
Yeah, it feels like a long history, but it actually isn't. I mean, I moved here 15 years ago. So
that's long by many standards in journalism, right?
In journalism, maybe it is. I moved here. I probably wasn't living here a month when I sought out what was then the Northwest Michigan Business News and its owner, and started reading it religiously. And I've always been a news junkie. You probably have been too. I grew up in a house where my dad had 4 daily newspapers delivered to the house, and so I just grew up on the news and loved it. And so I moved here from Metro Detroit and started reading the Northwest Michigan Business News, and reached out to the owner and said, "Hey, I have a bunch of ideas for you." And we met and I shared them, and I just watched, and none of them were ever implemented. So I said, "Actually, if you ever want to sell that paper, I'd love to buy it." And he said, "No, it's not for sale." And so every 6 or 8 months, I'd ping him again and say, "If anything changed?" "No, nothing changed." It just years would go by. And then finally, one day he called and said, "I'm ready to sell. Pay me in 24 hours, and it's yours at a steep discount." So,
wow.
Yeah.
That's a pretty quick turnaround.
It was. I don't know what the circumstances, nor do I need to. But
right.
Anyway, we bought it and immediately sort of transformed it a little bit. We changed it to the Traverse City Business News. We tightened it from, I think it was 12 counties to 4 counties. It was a free paper. Now it's a paid circulation. We redesigned it and just tightened it up to focus more on Traverse City. And, really that was the beginning of the time when you don't really want to get into the newspaper business necessarily. So
2006, you said?
Well, I mean the 2000s in general.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, let's be honest. So it was, it was a risk, but it was a lot of fun. And then got it in the place where we wanted it to be, and I met Bob and George, the owners of the Express, and said, "I'd actually love to buy your paper and bring it into the family, and I'm just excited by it. I see a lot of opportunity for it." And they said, "No, we're making money and having fun, so not now." And it was the same deal. We'd have lunch twice a year, once a year, and we'd just talk, and I never really asked again. And then finally I did ask pretty seriously, and they said, "No, we're going to keep it for a while." So I left that meeting and started the Traverse City Ticker, which was
what year?
2009. So this is an all-electronic, basically it started as a weekly email. It's one news story emailed to about 1,900 names that we had cobbled together.
Can I interrupt you for a second? I want to bounce back before we get too ahead of myself chronologically. The 24-hour decision to buy the paper, was that the Business News? Was that a given in your mind, and how easy was it to make a purchase of a business in 24 hours? I mean, that blows me away.
It was easy because it had been years I'd been asking him. It was just something it's funny, everybody goes through a decision process differently. With me, it's just some of these they're just inevitable. They just have to happen. They are my path. I just have to do it. So we had talked, we had a sense of price, I had seen the numbers, so it wasn't like I was walking in blind, but it was just something I knew I had to do. And I was such a huge believer and proponent of Traverse City at the time. I love it here, but from a business standpoint, I just think it's, on a rocket ship, the economy here. So it made it pretty easy.
So then the move to the Ticker, the all-electronic newsletter, was that kind of forced upon you by the fact that the Express wouldn't sell?
Well, it wasn't forced. It was my decision. I basically...
But you felt like that?
Yeah, I may even have said that to somebody. I might have just said, if I can't buy them, I'll beat them. I just said, we can do that, and I can do it without printing anything, and we can build up, and we'll start small, and we'll just do it. Because my vision for the Express was to basically take it online anyway. I mean, we were still going to print, but we wanted to go online. So yeah, so we just thought, let's try it. Very low cost of entry, very little barrier. You just build an email and send it to some people and see what they think. And
Right.
it was supposed to be free, and it was paid by display advertising. And I think I told you that story before. We sold out the entire year of advertising in the first week of January.
Wow.
So I thought, oh boy, did I screw this up. So the following year,
You're not charging it.
right? So the next year we doubled the rates on the ads, and we doubled the frequency. We decided to send it out twice a week, and we sold out in February. So then I said, all right, this is something real. I have to be a little more thoughtful about that. So the third year we built a website behind it, which it never had.
Okay.
And we went to daily, 7 days a week. And so at that point, it was a pretty serious business. We had to really think it through and make sure the ad staff was on board and line up all the right freelance writers and invest in something that didn't exist, really. I mean, I had this specific vision that I had to hire a web developer for. I want it to do this. I want it to look like this. I want the ad reps to be able to see this sort of airline seating system for advertising and what's available and what's sold. And so it was a big investment, but we did it. And now we're 7 days a week. We have about 33,000 daily subscribers.
And still free.
Still free, yes. That always will be free. Yeah.
That's great. What about when you start with nothing at the ticker in terms of that daily email, those first weeks, months, was that you? Was there carryover of staff from the business news, or at what point did you start this freelance model where you've been using several people from different backgrounds with different levels of experience?
Well, we've always used freelancers for the business news, and they were available to me. But in the very beginning, I have such a specific vision of the voice, the type of story, the diversity of story, the length of story, the style, that it was tough on my writers because they thought they were doing a great job, and they were doing a great job, for the business news or for something else, but I just had this very specific expectation. So I was writing most of it in the beginning. And then slowly, Lynn and Linda at the time, who were working with and for me, just got a feel for it, and they could replicate that voice. And then pretty soon people would say, hey, I have a story idea. I think it's a ticker. I think I can write it this way. And so it evolved. But yeah, in the beginning, it was me.
What about any crossover that you have or don't have? Because I certainly haven't seen a ton of it, if any, but is there crossover between what appears in the ticker and what appears in the business news?
A little. At month's end, when we go to press with our monthly business news, if we have a hole or there's a special section devoted to something we just reported on in the ticker, we'll plug it into the paper, which we probably ought to do more often. I mean, frankly, because if I look at the subscription overlap, a lot of business news people don't necessarily read the ticker every day. And it's a business. We've paid for the story. It only makes sense if we can reuse it occasionally. Try not to do it too often, but we do it sometimes, yeah.
What about the analytics of your subscribers?
Yeah.
Do you jump into that? How much attention do you pay to that versus just enjoying the ride?
Every day I look at it. I used to look at it 3, 4, 5 times a day, even more maybe. But I look at it every day. I'm always curious to see what days of the week perform better, what kinds of stories perform better. The analytics we've built are really robust, so we can see every link in every story, every link in every ad, which ads are getting better performance, which stories are getting better performance. So it's pretty fascinating, depending on how much time you want to spend. And then in the beginning, it was just like every single unsubscribe to the ticker email was just a dagger through my heart. It's just like,
what am I doing wrong?
Right. I would just, what have I done to lose somebody? And then I just thought, hey, stop. Because we're just, the subscriptions are far outpacing. We're getting, 10, 20 subscriptions a day, and we're getting 1 unsubscribe a day maybe. So I mean, you just have to do what you love and do what you're doing and just stick to it.
So you're doing something right.
I hope.
Well, can you tell us what you think some of the biggest stories have been over the years? Any jump out at you from, web hits or reads or types of stories even?
Well, I mean, a few. I remember one when Traverse City bought, I forget how long of a sort of an infomercial on Delta Airlines,
Okay.
United Airlines. They did a pre-roll video ad on every flight in North America for a week or something a few years ago, and that was, I think, our biggest story. But we've broken a lot of news, especially in the last year, and some of the bigger downtown stories really cause a spike. In terms of advertising, it tends to be food, restaurant related. I remember what is now Mission Table, a restaurant on Old Mission. They ran a very simple ad one time that just said, introducing our new menu here first. That was the ad. And I think it had 1,000 click-throughs before noon, which it worked, I mean, and they keep coming back, so it's working for the advertiser. But you can't predict, as you know, what story is going to resonate. Sometimes it's a personal tale, sometimes it's breaking news, but the biggest traffic tends to happen when our stories get linked to from other news sites or really popular news aggregators, which happens occasionally.
The thing that has always interested me, or one of the many things that has interested me, is the hyper-local aspect of it. You mentioned the downtown business stories, maybe those are some of the most popular. But when you think about downtown Traverse City and even population, 10,000 out of 50,000 in the county and 500,000 in the region, or whatever, depending on what your counties are. What does that say to you? Because there's a lot of people who don't live and work right in downtown Traverse City.
I can't decide if I do this and I intentionally did this ticker so hyper-local, because we report on news 2 miles away, and that's about it.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't look at 10 miles away. We certainly don't look at national or international news. I can't decide if I did that because that's mostly what I care about and I live downtown and work downtown, or if I was smarter than that and I thought that this is the way it was going and that Traverse City was going to be, sort of the epicenter of news and activity and economy for the entire region, or both. But whatever the reason, it seems to have been working, at least for now.
You can go with this smarter approach.
That's the other thing is, people have so many options for so many different types of news that, they know what we are, they know what we're not. They don't come to us for international analysis. They don't come to us for statewide news. And speaking of analysis, they don't come to us for any opinion. We don't provide editorial opinion. We don't analyze the news. We just choose not to. And I think that our readers appreciate that. At least that's what they tell us.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a quick time out here on the briefing room. We'll be back with more with Luke Haase from the Traverse City Business News, the Ticker, and the Northern Express when we come back.
Continuing financial support for Up North TV comes from East Bay Charter Township, the City of Traverse City, Elmwood Charter Township, and the Charter Township of Garfield. Their support makes it possible for our communities to create and enjoy local programming. Help bring awareness, promote your cause, or share your craft. Get started at upnorthmedia.org.
Welcome back to the briefing room. I'm Bill Froehlich from WTCM Radio News, and it's our weekly chat with some of the journalists covering the news here in Northern Michigan. And this week, Luke Haase from the Traverse City Business News and the Ticker and the Northern Express newspaper. Luke, thanks again for being with us. Let's kind of bring us up to more current events with the takeover and the purchase of the Northern Express paper. You mentioned that was also something that you had attempted on several occasions, right, and it finally happened for you, in 2013, right?
Right. So I also owned a full-service marketing firm, which is basically an ad agency. This is my job. This is my full-time job. The Business News and the Ticker, I guess I should have mentioned, were just actually sort of hobbies.
Because you like working 120 hours a week, yeah?
At times, apparently.
Yeah.
So So yes, we had a full-service ad agency with a handful of employees and 15 or 20 clients, and that was my career. That's what I did.
Okay.
And it occurred to me about a year ago that I just liked less and less of it, and I really enjoyed the ticker and the business news more and more, and I really wanted to focus a little bit and work maybe 100 hours a week instead of 120. So I sold my marketing firm in June, last June, with the intention of focusing and growing the ticker and the business news and taking a little breather. And I sold, our office furniture and our phone system and everything, and gave up the office where the agency was. And about a week after all that was sold, I got a call from the Northern Express that said, "We are ready to sell, and we want to sell it to you." So we started talking, and it took a few months, but they were very, very specific and intentional about wanting me to take over their paper, which was a real honor. It really was. They just said, we could potentially get more money. We've talked to some brokers. We could probably hire, sell it to someone from out of town, but we don't know or trust what they do with it. We've seen what you've done with your products. We want you to carry our paper on. So, we worked through the numbers, and I had to go back out and buy all the phone systems and the furniture and get my old office back, and that was, here we go again. But I took over officially January 1st.
Of 2014.
Yep. So, it's been a lot of excitement the last few months.
So was that a relief? Was it? I don't want to use the word headache, but obviously you weren't expecting that call, and having just unloaded the office and all that, was it just kind of a...
Well, that took more thought than buying something in 24 hours or starting something from scratch. I would say I did struggle a little bit with it. The enormous financial investment, really, it's a big deal. It's a bit of a burden, a responsibility, because now you're talking about 13 counties.
Right.
650 distribution stops. A lot of that paper is everywhere. It's probably in this building. So people pick it up every week or every other week, and they read it, and they trust it, and they like it, and they use it. And there's a long-time staff there. So the responsibility wasn't lost on me, but again, it just came down to, at the end of the day, it was just, this is what I do. This is what I do. I love doing it. I seem to be good at parts of it. I know what I'm not good at. And I believe in Northern Michigan, so I just felt like I had to do it.
What about the vision that you have for the paper, and will there be a stream of changes? Will there be a moment a year from now when you flip the switch and say, we're changing this about the paper?
No, there won't be that. I do have a plan, and the plan is about 1.5 out of 5 steps complete. So the first step was to figure out how they put this paper out every week, which is a bit of a miracle to me.
Yeah.
And just stabilize it and understand it. Then we wanted to improve the covers a little bit, raise the bar in terms of photography and presentation of the product. And that's done. We're using a professional photographer every week and being, again, a little bit more thoughtful about that. Now we're looking at redesigning the whole paper, the inside of the paper. And simultaneously with that change will be more local faces, more local voices, more local columnists, potentially replacing some of these syndicated columns that appear in 700 newspapers nationwide with somebody right down the street who can do the same kind of work. More expensive, but
worth it.
Yeah, hopefully.
You told us a story on WTCM a couple of weeks back about, we were talking about not making everybody happy in terms of the readers, and someone who was complaining about what the word was, corporate America.
That's right,
the corporate control, but they had a favorite column.
Right. Well, exactly. It's the same point. Some woman called and said, "I know it's a new owner, and it's becoming very corporate. You're taking away, I don't know if it was News of the Weird or one of these syndicated columns that we subscribe to." And of course, the irony is those syndicated columns are owned by corporations, and they run in 5, 7, 800 newspapers. Right. And all I'm trying to do is put more local, content in the paper. But more than ever, these jobs are becoming higher profile and more critics. That just comes with the territory.
Sure.
Not everybody likes what you're doing. So.
Well, I know that feeling.
Yeah.
We're a fan of more local all the time as well.
Yeah.
What about the change or lack of change, the plan for the number of counties? I mean, I remember last year at some point you guys had sent out a survey to folks to find out, what county are you from and what
Right.
counties do you care about and that kind
Right.
of thing. I mean, results of that survey, and have they spoken to you in any ways for change?
That's a tough question because radio, I guess, is similar. But I mean, in this business model with the Northern Express, 13 counties, we are serving people in Sheboygan. I've never been to Sheboygan, and to Manistee, to Gaylord, to Harbor Springs, to Traverse City, Petoskey, and every place in between. So it's so wide, and it's doable, but I struggle because with the ticker, our specialty is giving people exactly what's on their mind. It's tough when you're writing a story about Traverse City and someone's sitting in Sheboygan saying, what about me? Right. Well, we can't necessarily write a lot about Sheboygan because certainly people in Traverse City don't go there or may not care. So you have to back up and think, okay, what are the general topics that appeal to people, recognizing the population centers. But it's a constant balance. Will we cut some geographies? I don't have a plan to do it, but business might necessitate it.
Yeah. Where do you go from here? I mean, you took over the Traverse City Business News in 06.
Right.
Added the ticker. You've added the Northern Express. Is there another vision now for another 2 to 3 years from now that you've got your sights set on? I don't want you to give away any spoilers, but are you content with where things are?
There's so much work. I am so overwhelmed right now by the vision for these 3 products right now. They are each in different ways maybe 25% of what they hopefully will be.
Yeah.
That there's a lot of time and energy and thinking and money that has to go into these businesses before I say that now, and then in 9 months maybe I'll be bored and I'll be looking,
You could buy an ad agency maybe.
No, that's one thing that won't happen. But
Right.
Who knows? I do love Traverse City and I love the media, so.
Good. Well, I think Traverse City is better for you and what you do. So
Thank you.
Appreciate the contribution to the community. Tell us where to find the business news, how to subscribe to the ticker. Obviously, 700 spots to pick up the Northern Express, but you've got a website there as well.
Right. So the Traverse City Business News, tcbusinessnews.com, or you can purchase it at bookstores, gas stations. We have about 100 spots throughout 4 counties. The ticker is traverseticker.com. It's free to subscribe. And as you say, the Northern Express, northernexpress.com or everywhere.
Not a problem.
Right. Hopefully not.
Well, Luke, thanks for being with us on the program this week, and
Yeah.
we really appreciate kind of getting to know you and the story a little bit.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I'm Bill Froehlich from WTCM Radio News, and that's our weekly roundup here on the Briefing Room. We'll see you again next time, right here on the show.